Okay, so outside of those specific examples in which someone is committing an act of harm, which I also removed from my definition of bodily autonomy.
Then I don't consider that bodily autonomy anymore by your definition.
Okay.
Your definition would have to be something different
like the
than your
right to
definition.
go to the fucking grocery store. Who has that right? Who are you saying under your standpoint of government, what is it based on your equal force objection can women do that they should not be allowed to do?
So let's untangle some ideas. When you say who has a right to go to a grocery store, who has an inherent right to go to a grocery store?
Nobody.
Or who has a physical right enforced by men to go to a grocery store? Which thing are you asking?
What do you...
An inherent right or some external subjective right that is enforced? Which thing are you asking?
I'm saying who has an inherent right to move their body in the way that they want.
Nobody has an inherent right to do anything.
Nobody.
Nobody has an inherent right to do anything.
So then how do we gain the physical right to go to the grocery store?
Through force.
Exclusively through force.
Yeah, the only reason that, so if, let's say the Taliban took over, the grocery store area, do you have the right to go to the grocery store now?
No, but that's an anarchic society.
Then you're agreeing with me. So then you're saying there's no inherent right.
It sounds like you're advocating for anarchy, and the only way that people
I'm not advocating for anarchy.
The only way that people gain a right is through force. Then we'd all be fighting each other all the time to gain the right to just use our bodies in a basic way.
You can cooperate for the purpose of force doctrine. We do it constantly. What do you mean?
No, we don't. Because we don't live under a force doctrine principle.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
How
do we hold this thing together?
How would disabled people have the power?
Because
there we go.
No one can.
This is a good example. Yeah, this is a good example of people now understanding how this thing works. We live through the enforcement of force doctrine. Imagine this, guys. Imagine what Trump said that Canada should become the 51st state of the United States. Do you think, listen to this, if we decided to, let's say Canada's militaries keep depleting, at what point you think if the United States wanted to take Canada, at what point can Canadians stop the United States of a takeover? Right? At what point? You have no force. You have no force to even protect your sovereignty. Like, force doctrine is literally the essence of just holding this thing together. Outside of that, we're just writing letters in a paper. We're just writing things in the paper that magically are enforced through something.
Because they have people who have force, which enable them to do those things. That's how.
So then there is power that comes not from force. If people who do not have the power to force can utilize the strength of others on their behalf.
The strength of others would be force.
Okay, but how did that person at the top who doesn't have force utilize the strength of others?
He's utilizing other people's force.
Okay, but what is he doing to utilize their force? Because he somehow has power over them. How?
He doesn't have, well, it's agreed to power. But the thing about power dynamics, which is interesting, is that if you have control over force, if that were to shift, like let's say the president said some shit that you really didn't like, and a big-ass mob showed up to take him out, right? And nobody opposed that, who has force doctrine on their side?
That's fair. So I want to go back to this claim. You said...
Hang on.
Hey, you see what she did there? You see what she did there?
Hang on.
I want to...
See, right here. See, right here. She's over talking. She just want to move the topic because she's losing, right? This is, again, the tactic of the bad life insurance salesman right here. Trying to take control of the conversation. That's interesting.
I'd like to just...
That's my claim.
You said
hang on. I want to...
on force.
Wait.
And I would like to just ask...
Hang on. You said that's fair, though, right?
100% Woko.
No,
I agree with you.
You said that's fair.
I'm responding to the words you're saying. If you said agreed to power based on force...
Yeah.
And that those who are disabled are protected...
She seeded the argument over and over. Yeah, that's it.
Protected and their will is protected. And those who are elderly are protected and their will is protected.
If there's force, yeah.
Then why can't you do the same thing with women? Why do women now usurp their right to protection and bodily autonomy under a...
There's not rights. These aren't rights. It's just force. It
is a right.
Can women manipulate men to use force on their behalf? Sure, that's happened before.
Okay.
Great. But they're always going to have to appeal to men's strength for force, no matter what.
But I don't think society is intrinsically and implicitly governed by force. And I think advocating for that
Which part of society?
Violence.
Which part of society is not governed by force? Which part?
I mean, schools.
She just EOD. You're right. She just want to move on to prevent people from noticing. Yeah, here's the thing. By she doing that, that's her perception of what she really thinks about this audience. That's what it is.
Aren't governed by force.
Yes, they're
People
governed
go to
by force
school
for sure.
Really? So kids go to school because they're afraid they're going to get
No, they're not going to
hurt
school
and beat
because they're
up if
afraid
they
they're
don't
going to
go
get hurt. But there's security guards who are around. There's police officers who are around. There's people who enable that nothing bad's going to happen to those kids. There's teachers who are there much stronger than the students to keep potential threats away from the students. All of it's governed by force.
Okay, but you're talking about force for protection versus force for the utilization and monopoly of
It's
power.
all the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
Same.
If you're protecting people's right to be somewhere, then that is a different use of force than...
But they're both force?
Sure.
Okay, great. Then they're the same thing. Force.
Sure. But
Okay,
why are you, just because you have a monopoly on force, what gives you the will?
Exactly. She hasn't made any valid point, but still react like she got the cream. And that's the clip of her YouTube short. Yeah, that's pretty much, that's what she's here for, guys. She's just here for those kind of, viral moments. If you want to call it viral moments.
To usurp someone's right to very basic bodily autonomy.
They don't have rights. Rights are not, by your agreement, inherent.
So then what's to stop a bigger, stronger man from just beating the shit out of you? And now you don't have rights.
Nothing except force doctrine. That's the whole point.
Then why would you want to live in a society in which everyone is like
I didn't say
dependent
you
on
have to
force?
live in a society in which individuals can get beaten up by somebody who's next to them.
That's what force doctrine is.
No, force doctrine would be like the cops would show up and beat that guy down with
right, guys,
billy clubs, drag his ass.
I'm going to take a pee. I'm going to take a break. Give me 1 second.
To prison, then he would get thrown in a prison where guards would make sure he stayed there.
Okay, so
that's
what
all
kind of force is appropriate through force doctrine?
Well, I don't even know what that means. What are you asking?
So the force and the power to, I mean, you're basically saying that women do not have the right to, I don't know because you won't define what rights are, to do really anything.
Okay, I'll tell you
men
again. What did I say a right is? A duty. Oh, I'm sorry, a privilege absent a duty, and you agreed to it 4 times.
So women have no privilege
Hang on,
absent of a duty.
Stop. I just want to point out your lie. You said
so frustrated.
You said I keep lying, or you keep lying. So
when did I lie, Bookie?
You just said I never defined privilege.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you literally just said that, and I defined it 4 times.
You didn't say you didn't define privilege. You didn't define privilege. You defined a right.
Oh my God. A privilege absent duty is what?
A privilege absent of a duty. I'd say like free will.
A right. It's a right. I defined it multiple times.
So what are you trying to say? That because women cannot defend physically their right to do things, that they do not deserve rights? Is that the point?
They can't enforce their own rights. So
okay, so because someone cannot enforce their own rights, they don't deserve rights.
Well, they don't have them.
But do they deserve them?
Well, then you're moving into a different claim. So if you want to get into like what people deserve or don't deserve, right? We can get into that, but can we at least agree on the descriptor of how it works first?
No.
Okay.
Because women, I'm trying to understand why women don't deserve rights because they cannot physically.
That's a different claim. I just asked you if we could agree to the descriptor before we moved to that claim, and you said no, and then brought that claim up again.
Because the claim doesn't make sense. I don't understand your claim.
Okay.
Make the claim,
and I'm
and then we can
literally
debate it.
answering all of your questions for this claim.
Not well, though. Like, what are you saying?
Which question? Which thing am I not answering?
If women do not have a monopoly on force, cannot control their own bodies, why don't they deserve basic human rights, basic equal rights?
Okay, let's try this again. It's like talking to a fucking child. Okay, do you agree with me?
All right, we're back.
We're back. Do you agree with me?
I've never seen you this pissed off. This is fucking hilarious. Oh my God.
I'm not pissed off. I'm just
Yes, you are.
frustrated. That's what it is,
Women
man.
are emotional. Look at him.
You're the one freaking out, not me.
I'm not freaking out. I think this is hilarious.
For me, it's extremely frustrating talking to someone who doesn't actually
sounds like an
understand
emotion.
the words that are coming out of my
You're
mouth.
sounding very emotional right now, Andrew.
Can we go back?
Would you like to get some water?
Yeah, can we go back and go through all
If you need
of
to cry,
these-
that's okay.
Can we go back
I'm
through...
here for you, my friend.
Can we go back through these descriptors now?
Oh, you guys are crazy.
Sure.
Okay.
Alrighty.
What is a
You
right?
just want to keep defining words?
What is a right?
Merriam-Webster over here.
What is a right from your perspective?
Okay. I mean, I'm fine with your definition on those descriptors.
No, but I want your definition.
I'm fine with your definition of that.
Then why do you keep contradicting yourself if you're fine with my definition?
I'm not contradicting myself. Your claim just doesn't make sense that humans do not deserve rights specifically because they cannot physically.
When did I
defend
say
them.
they didn't deserve them?
You just did, like
I said
4
they
times.
don't exist inherently, right?
Okay, so whether or not it doesn't exist inherently, does someone still deserve
Yeah,
that
at this point.
right? Just
They
because
don't-
they cannot
they-
physically defend
Yeah,
them.
at this point, she was bad faith, guys. At this point, it was completely bad faith. Completely bad faith. From now on, she just want to get her little clips.
How do you deserve something that
Yeah.
doesn't exist?
I agree, Chindi.
But it does exist.
Okay, so now it
Chindi,
exists.
Listener.
Does it exist or
I
not
agree.
exist?
I mean, do I have bodily autonomy currently? Yes. Can I go walk around my house and do what I want? Yes. So on a certain level, it does exist.
Where?
I mean, right here, right now. I'm here
Exactly.
on my own free will.
So because you can do this,
Pissing you the fuck off.
So because you can do this, you have the right to do this?
I'm trying to see what extent you think women should not be allowed to do things.
She got destroyed. She got destroyed badly, and not only that, Andrew's not even in his best shape. You can tell he's kind of tired, man. Like he just, you know what I'm saying? Like he's tired.
Because they cannot monopolize and control
But
others based
do
on
you
force.
understand that, like,
I just don't understand practically what
Yeah.
you want out of this.
When
So
you-
women can't force men.
it's hard to argue with you because you don't have any understanding of philosophy at all. So when I bring these
Yep.
things up,
That's not the issue. The
You
issue is that your
agree-
philosophy is
you
inherently
agree-
flawed.
you-
It morally doesn't make sense.
okay, I'll tell you what, negate it. Negate the proposition.
Okay, sure. With what I said before. So you're basically saying that people who utilize force to execute laws are those who have the ability to control those laws. My issue is that, and in terms of a movement towards equity or a goal of eliminating, and in terms of feminism, you're saying it's a movement towards equity with the goal of eliminating patriarchal systems. My issue
Yeah,
is
Myron
that I
again said it right there in that
fundamentally do
super
not
chat.
believe that laws should be exclusively.
Yeah,
in-
Myron Guest says something very, very important this in his super chat. He said, "Oh my God, the only reason women have rights is because men allow women to have them. If all men decided women should not have rights, they would not have rights." That's the point. There's nothing wrong with admitting that. If we can at least admit that point, maybe we can just get to a common ground that we can just secure people's rights, I guess. But ignoring the fact in itself is putting people in edge, guys. That's what it
actually
is.
do not believe that laws should be exclusively enforced to the benefit of those who have physical power.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not a negation of force doctrine. So,
Yeah, I see what you're saying, John.
like, I don't know what to. You're so philosophically illiterate that you actually don't even understand what I'm
Damn,
saying
bro.
to you.
Here we go.
And you're just regularly illiterate. I mean, dude, like, then just argue the claim.
I did argue the claim.
But it doesn't make sense.
Then falsify it.
Okay, just because someone can do something does not mean that they ought to do it.
Okay, so
just
then
because men
descriptively-
can force women to do what they want doesn't mean that they ought
So
to.
then descriptively, do you agree with force doctrine?
I mean, I believe on a blanket, I believe on like a smaller level. I think that interpersonally, someone can use force if they have more force over
I see.
someone.
Okay, let's try this. What is
Yeah.
force doctrine?
Force doctrine is your whole thing that men have a monopoly on force and human beings have no inherent rights. All laws are enforced by force and violence is used to maintain societal regularity on a certain level.
And that women have to appeal to men for their monopoly on force in order to secure their
hold on,
needs
hold
or rights
up.
or whatever.
Hold on, let's back up. Let's back up, guys. Look at her reaction.
Their monopoly on force in order.
There you go. She's not used to these debates, guys. She's not used to this. She's not used to this. You see how still Andrew is challenging her. Just challenging her by asking her a question. And she's not liking it because she's not used to this. Usually by now, she will win the debate because they will probably let her win. I don't know. But she's not used to this, guys. To define with clarity her positions.
Level.
And that women have to appeal to men for their monopoly on force in order to.
And that fact that whether or not females have to appeal to men for force she's not liking that. You know why she's not liking that, guys? Because it might be. I'm not saying it could be, because I cannot read her mind. She don't believe that men are equal to women. That's what it is, guys. She doesn't believe it. She believes that females are superior to men. That's what it is.
To secure their whatever needs or rights or whatever it is they want, right?